All right, so we're going to get started in the next minute or so. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I've confirmed as you were coming in that you can all hear me, you can all see my screen, so that's great. So we're going to get underway. So welcome to today's session. I've put everyone on mute just so that we have the most optimal audio experience. Certainly, feel free to raise your hand, feel free to take yourselves off of mute. We're a small group today, so if you have any questions, more than happy to answer those. The chat panel is also available to you, and I do see that here in front of me, so feel free to ask questions in the chat. I will pause as we go along to make sure that there are no questions or that we address any questions that come up as we go along. So everyone should have their Zoom open on the screen. If your chat panel is not merged to the main window and you would like to do that, where you see everyone, as you see it here on the screen, and then here there's the three ellipses, horizontal, ellipses on the right. So feel free to click on that and just select merge to meeting window. And that is going to connect those two windows. If you want to get out of the full screen mode, feel free to hit the exit button or escape button rather in the top, left-hand corner. And that way it'll come out of the full view. All right, so without further ado, let us get going. So welcome everyone to MoxiPresent 101, Get Presenting. My name is Yvonne Havlicek. I have been a facilitator for well over 15 years. It is my first love in the training and development space, so it is an absolute pleasure to be here with you today. We are going to be together for the next hour or so, stepping through MoxiPresent, and we're going to start off with a slide deck, then we're going to get into a demo so that you guys can get the full experience. So before we get going, I do want to share a few important reminders. So a few notes to start us off. Firstly, please know that as independent contractors, all learning opportunities are optional. So this is a discussion of best practices for your consideration. Now, I'm here to help explain how the tool functions and how it may benefit your business. But it is completely up to you to decide whether the features that we cover today should be implemented or not. Now, as we talk through the tool functionality, we are also going to discuss how to connect with people. So please note that it is important to comply with state and local do not contact laws and regulations. And one final note is that the COVID-19 crisis has resulted in executive orders and other protective guidance at both the state and the local levels. So please do make sure you are reviewing the requirements in your area, including those related to non-essential businesses and telemarketing to consumers. Now, one more important reminder before we proceed. It is important that you understand when you choose any kind of external content to show in MoxiWorks, such as video links, photos, articles, music, or anything similar, you must have actual permission or a license, preferably in writing from the content creator or owner for your specific intended use. Just because you can find and download something online, that doesn't yet mean that it is free for you to use. Even if you found it through a subscription service or on a website claiming to offer free photos, you must always check the rules and requirements for each specific photo, as some may require giving author credit, some may limit the length of time for permissible use, or may prohibit commercial use. And almost everything we do in our business, in our industry, is considered commercial. Simply giving credit to the owner or the source without obtaining their permission is not enough. Make sure the person giving you permission is the actual rights owner. So as an example, the owner of listing photos is usually the photographer, not the prior listing agent who got permission from the photographer. That agent most likely cannot transfer the rights to you. And just because you have permission to use a photo for a listing, that does not mean that you can use it for other things such as advertisements, learning materials, presentations. So all of these things are very important to keep them in mind. And remember, it is very important to be sure you have proper rights because there are no excuses to escape liability for copyright infringement, and you may end up needing to pay monetary damages. Now, for our agenda today, I will be introducing you to MoxiPresent. Then we'll talk about the business benefits that MoxiPresent can bring to you and your business. Next, we're going to take a tour of the product with a demo, as I mentioned a moment ago, and we're going to include how to use the help section that's available to you within the tool. And we're going to wrap up our session with some important next steps to ensure that you have everything you need to get started. And you'll also know where to find additional learning opportunities, including self-paced learning and quick reference guides. All right, so before we get into it, the launch of your learning journey for MoxiPresent begins right now. We are so glad that you are here today. Now, today marks the very first stop in your learning journey, and immediately following today's session, we strongly recommend. Pardon me, let me just mute a few people here. Okay, I'm sorry, let me start over. So after today's session, we recommend that you review the MoxiPresent Agent Getting Started guide that you will find on Century 21 University. Now, this guide includes key steps to getting you successfully started with MoxiPresent. I would also encourage you to continue your learning journey by completing the MoxiPresent Agent e-learning to strengthen your product knowledge and get some hands-on practice. Now, the e-learning is also available on Century 21 University, and here is where you'll also find registration links to additional live trainings. Those are called MoxiWorks Hours. And in this agent-focused series, you can take a deep dive into best practices for MoxiPresent. Now, both of these resources are going to help you continue your learning journey. So I'll talk about more about all of these in our next steps at the very end of our session today. All right, so before we specifically dive into MoxiPresent, I do want to share with you the bigger picture that it is a part of MoxiWorks. As you can see here, MoxiWorks is a complete suite of products, which includes MoxiPresent. The suite also includes 4 other great tools. So let's step through those individually. Firstly, we have Moxi Engage. Now, this is a CRM built specifically for real estate agents, so it aligns with an agent's workflow, it leverages property data, and encourages long-term lead nurturing. And this allows you to save time and be more efficient. So as an example, email marketing can all be managed very easily through Moxi Engage. Next, we have Moxi Impress, and this is a professional marketing asset to help agents impress their clients, reach more people, strengthen relationships, and build the brand by creating flyers, postcards, videos, social media images, and tons of other exciting content. Thirdly, we have Moxi Websites. So this is an easy-to-use website builder for brokerages, agents, team websites. It allows you to create your own branded experience. Moxi Talent is another great tool, and this is a recruiting tool that helps brokers and managers identify, recruit, and retain agents for their brokerage. And lastly, we have MoxiPresent. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. It's the ultra versatile real estate presentation builder that we will be showcasing. So what is MoxiPresent? Well, MoxiPresent is considered one of the top comparative market analysis or CMA presentation tools on the market. It integrates with your local MLS to provide accurate and up-to-date market data. You are going to love how easily presentations come together using the pre-designed templates, and you'll be able to create beautiful interactive listing presentations, buyer presentations, and so much more. Now, because MoxiPresent is connected to your local MLS, it pulls the latest data from the MLS directly into your presentations each and every time one is opened. Now, these presentations can be shared whatever way suits your client best, as a digital presentation or as a printed PDF. And this allows you to present to your client live, in person, or via email, allowing them to review it at their leisure. So let's talk about some of the benefits of MoxiPresent. Now, as an agent, you will find that MoxiPresent not only saves you time by letting you start right off the bat with polished professional presentations, but it also lets you edit those standard presentations to customize to your personality, your business, and that of the client that you're going to visit. Now, you'll even be able to customize your presentations by adding new slides or reordering your existing ones until you really just identify the right flow of information that suits you and your client. There we go. And finally, because of the data that your presentation contains and the way it is shared, you are going to impress your clients as a real estate agent who really knows their market and stands ready to help them get started in that space. Now, all of this is going to help you achieve your goal of winning more listings. MoxiWorks is also a perfect fit with Realogy as it is built as an open technology ecosystem, and the MoxiWorks technology philosophy is in sync with Realogy's goals. So just a reminder, MoxiWorks is included in your affiliation with Realogy. All right. So the benefits of this might all sound great, but how do you actually implement it? So this is just as easy as building the presentations, and you will see this as we go through our workshop today. And you can share your content both online and via print, really however way you choose and whatever is convenient for your client. Now, if you share your material online, imagine your client's happiness when they see the results. It will not only make you look like an expert, even if you don't have any training yet, but it's also interactive and very easy to share via email or text to a phone. Now, the information within is also constantly updated. If it is tied to an LMS, any changes made will be immediately reflected in any and all digital presentations. And if you share your material via print, your creations will look professional and will address any important information your clients may be interested in. So this makes for handouts or leave-behinds that are full of potential. All right, now if you need more, you're in for a real treat because any CMA comparables are automatically generated by default parameters within MoxiPresent, which can easily be adjusted as you will see momentarily. Now, users of this product will also be able to search layering filtered criteria and or map criteria, providing more or less information as needed. And all the data fields are auto-populated by MoxiPresent, including photos, which makes things really easy for you as the agent. And pricing adjustments to comps are also automatically calculated once the user plugs in any details. All right, so let's jump in there and take a tour. Now, during our tour of MoxiPresent today, we're going to talk about how to connect with MoxiPresent and what the home screen and an actual presentation looks like. And then we'll go into a couple of brief examples just to show you how easy it is to really create one of these presentations. All right, so we're going to get started in a moment. I just would like to remind you, so a quick note about how your profile information is populated in MoxiWorks. So your profile information, including your name, your phone number, your license information, all of those details come from what has been entered into Dash. And your profile information is used for things like your email signature, your listings, and even on your website. So any updates to your profile information must be completed by your local Dash administrator or through Profile Manager for Century 21. So with that said, let me just change sharing screens here. We're going to get right into it. All right, so everyone should see my Google Chrome. Is that true? Can someone just confirm for me that you can see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to make sure I'm not talking without any visuals. Okay, great. So Once you're in MoxiPresent, this is what the desktop or the home screen will look like. You're going to see the thumbnails like you see them here on my screen, and any presentation that you have previously created on the screen. So the last presentation you edited will always be on the left-hand side. If you have more thumbnails, it'll be in the top left-hand corner for quick access. And when you're ready to give a presentation to your client, you just click anywhere on the thumbnail and the presentation will open in presentation mode and you'll be able to go right into your talk track. Now, if you want to edit a presentation, it's about clicking on the little pencil up in the top right-hand corner. Hovering on the clock will give you some information about the presentation. And then you have these ellipses here, this vertical ellipses. So there's further actions that you can take by clicking on that. You can share your presentation, you can email it out, you can duplicate it, delete it, whatever the case may be. So that's what I just wanted to say about the home screen here. So before we begin creating a presentation, let's just take a look at an existing one so you can see the power of the product. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time with this sneak peek, but I just want to give you a feeling and a flavor for some of the page options that are available to you. Now, we also have a quick reference which walks through the different pages. So feel free to check that out in the help section that I mentioned earlier. Now, this particular example presentation is a seller presentation. That's this one here that I'm referring to. You see it here. It's a seller presentation, and it's produced for clients wishing to sell their home. Now, remember I mentioned that the last presentation you touched will always be the one that appears in the top left-hand corner if we had more rows here. And so I checked this particular presentation before our workshop today. So that's why it finds itself on the very left-hand side. So once again, we know it's a seller presentation because it tells us that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click right in the middle of this thumbnail, and this is going to open for us in a new tab. So you should see this presentation opening up. And as you open an existing presentation, if you are connected to the internet, MoxiPresent will pause for just a few moments as you saw that ring completed itself 100%, and that it was syncing with the MLS to just update all the properties listed in the presentation. So this way, you know that you are presenting the latest and greatest information to your client. Now, presentations, well, before I say that, let me scroll down. So here it says, scroll down to start. So I'm going to scroll down, and here we come to our cover page. So this is where presentations usually start, and you can always choose whatever page you want to begin your presentation on. You're not married to this cover page necessarily. For this particular template, it just shows this blue house. Other templates allow for the house to be shown, your photo can appear, your name, your contact details, all of those different things. So this is all customizable. This is just, like I said, to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. So the cover page is nice as it will start off right away by displaying, the main photo of the home that you've uploaded. And as I mentioned, you have the option of adding your name, your address, the date this presentation was created, and so on and so forth. So this particular photo of this blue home that you see here comes from iStock, and we purchased the rights to use it in our training today. Now, also on this cover page, you have these arrows up and down, and this menu, this hamburger stack here that allows you to jump to any other page. You don't necessarily have to go in order. So I can either scroll down using my trackpad, or I can use the arrows here in the bottom left-hand corner. All right, so the next possible page in your presentation that I'd like to show you is the property summary page. So you see all of this information here. There are tons of options on what fields you can display here. If you enter text in a field, it appears on the screen. But if you leave a field blank, it doesn't show up here. So for this page, I chose to add the property type, the year it was built, the address, the number of beds, baths, and square footage, and so on and so forth. Now, when creating this presentation, I'm going to just scroll to the next page. I chose several comparable properties. You see them here on the screen, including ones that have recently sold. Now, I made my selections based on price and location to the seller's home, and their property appears on the map with a star. Now let me refresh my page because I'm not sure why that's not happening. I don't see my star here. I'll have to look into what's going on with that. My apologies. Normally, there's a star that appears that shows the location of the property of the potential seller's home. So we're gonna, it seems to be a system glitch because yesterday the little star was there. So homes that are marked here with the red price that you see, those are sold properties. Those that are in a gold color are pending. And if we had any green and gray prices on the screen, those would mean that they are off. Green is active, pardon me, and gray means that it's off market for a variety of different reasons. Now, the listing photo for each of these comparable homes is here up at the top. Here we see comparable 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Now, once you focus in on one of the comparable listings, so if I were to click here on this photo, comparable number 1, I see that it's here for $580,000 at the bottom of my screen. If I click on it, it will open up and it will give me more of these details. So I see the number of bed, baths, the square footage, any other details that are here. And I can scroll through the photos of this comparable as well. All right, to move to the other comparables right from this screen, I can click on these arrows in the top left-hand corner. So if I click on the next arrow, I get my comparable number 2, again, the photos and all the details of this property. So this is just one way of jumping to this screen from that comparables page. So let me close out of this and we are going to continue. So here we come back to our comparables page. And I'm going to scroll down to the next screen. Now here we have another layout of the comparables. This is the listing overview page. And again, it shows the comparable listings, and clicking on any of these photos takes you directly to more details about the particular property. On the next page, we have a side-by-side comparison. So here we can really see, the comparables and their details in a table format, so we can really get a sense of how they're different in terms of, again, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, all sorts of other interesting details. So this side-by-side comparison is interesting just to view it from a different perspective. All right, and so on the next page, we have the status comparisons page. So this allows you to quickly compare details, and they can also be edited to show the data points that you would like to highlight. I do want to point out that this page is split up based on categories. So you see here we have 1 pending, and then we have 5 sold, and I can close these as I wish to just help support the focus that I want my clients to have and to really help underline some of the key messaging in my talk track. On the next page, we have the listing averages. So this takes the same data, but averages the numbers and shows it in a graphical format. So here you are viewing this and you are sensing that based on the client that you're going to go visit, you can really choose which pages to keep, which ones to maybe delete. And it really helps to tailor the conversation depending on who the client is and your particular brand and messaging and how you want to present to them. Next, we have a graph comparing the price on the y-axis and the days on market on the x-axis. So this example shows us that the longer that listing is on the market, the higher the price will be. We can also put another graph in that compares price to square footage. So as would be expected, the larger the house, the higher the price. And this graph reinforces that. So after showing all the previous comparable data from the screens that we just stepped through, you might now be ready to talk about the pricing of your client's home. And so this slide brings it all together as you present, an appropriate target price range. And we see that here at the top of the screen. And finally, these are your contact details. So you would be able to, the client would have this immediately available to be able to reach out to you for any further questions or details that they may be needing. So that was just a quick look at a seller presentation and what it could possibly look like. Again, there's many other options. So let's now walk through the steps to build this presentation. So I'm going to close this tab and we're going to go back to our home screen. So let me close this here. There we go. And we are back at our home screen. All right, so now let's see how easy it is to put one of these together. We're going to build a seller presentation to start. And what I want to do to get started with that is click on Create New in the top right-hand corner. So let me do that. And we have this window that opens up. So we have 3 questions, 1, 2, 3, that we are going to need to answer before we can get started. So as I mentioned, we're going to build a seller presentation. So that is the first thing that we want to select here, seller. I'm going to check this radio button and click continue in the bottom right-hand corner. We also have to select our template. So depending on how your brokerage has set things up, when you click this drop-down menu, this one here, you have a few choices. You may see brand, brokerage, and my templates. So I'm going to choose from the brokerage templates. And just for this demonstration here, I'm going to choose the default seller presentation. So let me go ahead and click that, or it's already selected rather. I'm going to click on continue. And then the last step is to identify or to give the presentation a name and to let it know which MLS it should be pulling from. So there's a bunch of us in this demo presentation account. So I'm going to call this, demo August 17th, and then I'm going to put my initials in brackets so that I know it belongs to me. The MLS that we're going to be pulling from is this Boreas, and it's our primary MLS. If I open up this drop-down menu, you see that there are others. So if you belong to multiple MLSs, you will see those listed here. So when you're doing this in real life, let's say that your client is the Smith family. So you might want to title this, right, Smith family presentation, something that's more appropriate. And also when it comes to the MLS, this is important for searching the comps, for leveraging the comps. So again, depending on which MLS you're affiliated with, that's where the comparables will be pulled from. So I'm going to click on Create. Now, if we just give the system a moment, the new seller's presentation will be ready to go. It's just setting things up. Now, there are 5 steps to building this presentation. You see them here across the top. So we're going to start here with our first one, subject property. These are called breadcrumbs, by the way, just in case I make reference to breadcrumbs, you know what I'm referring to. So again, we're on the subject property page. And if this home was recently on the market and you know the MLS number, you can enter that detail right here. If you don't have an MLS ID, we're going to go ahead and complete some of these fields that you either know or that you want to highlight in your presentation. Remember, if you leave a field blank, it won't be displayed on the slides and you won't have information to compare against. So there will be these gaping holes in the presentation if you leave fields blanks. And you should at the very least complete the address, the city, the state, the zip code, and all other fields are optional. But again, you will find better comparables if you complete some of the subject property information at the bottom of the page. So let me go ahead and type in some of these details. So I'm going to, again, because we have a demo account, because I've done this multiple times, or Google Chrome has remembered the address. So our demo address, 1635 McAllister Street. It is in San Francisco. So again, California. And my zip code is 94115. So you would just go ahead and type all of this in. And here you see the star that was missing on the previous screen for some mysterious reason. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to complete some of the details. So if I scroll down, I can select the property type from the drop-down menu. I know this is a single family home. It has 4 bedrooms. And if I open up the drop-down menu for the baths, it has 1 full bath and then it has 1 half bath. So I'm going to make those selections. I'm going to click OK. The square footage is 2,000 square feet. And let me see, do I have any other details that I want to complete? I do have some remarks that I want to add. So let me just go and grab those. And I'm going to scroll down even further and enter those remarks here. So those are just, some basic details that I filled in for our demo presentation today. So let me scroll down and I'm happy with that. So I'm going to click on continue. There we go. So here's the address that came in from the previous page. Here is the star that again, was missing on our previous screen. And here are the comparables with all the color coding. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in to get a better idea of some of the comparables that are located right in the vicinity of our home. And what we can do is we can use this draw tool functionality here. I'm going to click on the draw tool and I'm going to select quick draw. And let me just, draw a little bit of an area here. Maybe I know the neighborhoods that I want to compare to. So this is adjusted. And now the system will automatically pull comparables in the area that I have designated. So once again, the dots on the map and the words in the status column to the left match that color coding that we talked about previously, green, red, gold, and gray. And again, you can decide which type of listings will work best for the conversation that you want to have with your seller. So next, I'm going to select the listings that seem to match. If I know the area very well, I might just be able to select these comparables based on some photos or their address because I know what those homes look like. If I want more details because I'm unsure, I can click here on details and this will open it up for me. And here I can study all of the particulars of this listing in case I am unfamiliar with it. And I can include it directly in my list of comparables from this page here by clicking on include listing. So let me do that. I'm going to select that and then I can X out of here. And this listing, you see it here, there's a check mark in the photo, has now been added to my list of comparables. So let me go through and just select a few other comparables so that we can see what this all might look like. So I do that by clicking on this plus sign in the photographs. So I'll just make a few selections here so we have something to work with. So I've chosen 4 comparables. I'm happy with that. Good to go. So I'm going to click on continue again in the bottom right-hand corner. So once the comparables are selected, we now find ourselves on this third page, listings. And this is the property that we are looking to sell and win that business. And these are the 4 comps that I have added. Now, at this point, you might want to add a custom listing, and you can do that by clicking on this button here. So as an example, if you know there's a for sale by owner property that is not found on the MLS, but that would be a good comparable, you can add that here and I'll put in all the particulars by clicking on add custom listing. You also have the option of adjusting any of these comparable listings for any of the selected properties if you would like to perhaps explain why this particular home might be worth more or less than the subject property. So if you click on Add Edit Adjustments, you can make any of those changes. Now, once you have all of the listings here on this one page, you might realize that you thought this one here, 720 Waller Street, was a good comparable, but after a second think about it, you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to include that. So if that's the decision you make, you can click on this little X button and that will remove the selection. And then of course, when you're done, once again, please click continue in the bottom right-hand corner. This now gets us to our estimate screen, and we have 2 tabs here, estimated pricing, estimated net proceeds. If you want to use this presentation to get to the specifics of pricing, this is the screen where you'll set that price. Now, based on the comparable homes you selected, this screen calculates the average price right here and the average price per square foot just below it. By clicking on Estimated Net Proceeds, the second tab, you can enter those scenarios we talked about earlier to help your seller understand what their net proceeds could be from this sale. Now, remember, you can create up to 3 of these scenarios so that you can really help the seller, the client, settle on a pricing strategy. This is the last of our setup screens where we had information to enter. So now I'm going to click on this Pages tab here at the top. And this screen shows you each of the pages you have available in your presentation. The information within here will be based on the information you entered on those tabs up at the top of the screen, what we just stepped through. And you can always go back and edit that information before you present to your client if you want to polish and tighten up your presentation. Now, on the left-hand side here, this is the navigation area. So you see each of the pages. On the right-hand side, you see a preview of the page that is selected. So this is the cover page. If I click over to listing overview, you see that here. And so as you think about the way you'd like to share a presentation, you may decide to change the order of the pages. As an example, let's say we created this seller presentation for a family we've never worked with before. And what we would like to do, now this template, unfortunately, doesn't have the agent profile here, but let me just go ahead and show you how to move some of these presentations around. So, or these pages, pardon me. So let's say I want to put listing location map right after property summary. So I can just right click on that and drag it up and drop it, and that will reorder my pages for me. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you here. I'm going to come back to our home screen. I'm going to click on home, and here we see demo August 17th YH seller presentation. So just a friendly reminder, that's the last presentation we touched. That's why it appears in the top left-hand corner. And once we're ready to go in front of our client, we can just click anywhere in the middle of this thumbnail, and it will open up for us in presentation mode. So far we've talked about the benefits of using MoxiPresent. We've done a quick preview of a presentation, and we've also gone through and created a seller's presentation from scratch. Next, what I'd like to do is quickly create a buyer tour presentation. So I will once again start by clicking on Create New in the top right-hand corner. And many of the screens in this buyer tour have similar options. So just in the interest of time, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them, but let's just step through some of them so you get a feel for what this looks like. Now, don't forget that we have an e-learning course and quick reference available for you with more details about all of these presentation types. So you can access those from the Century 21 University, but just as a reminder, the buyer presentation is what you would give when you're meeting a client and asking them to let you represent them in the buying process. The buyer tour, which is what we are going to build together, is a presentation that you would give to them once they are already your client and you are getting ready to go out and visit several homes. So for this one, it's Wednesday today. Let's imagine that you're going out with your clients on Saturday and you want to send them this buyer tour today so that they have a chance to go through it, get an idea of the homes that you're going to be visiting, just step through it in their own time, and then they're ready to go for Saturday. So again, here we find ourselves. I'm going to select buyer tour. I'm going to click this radio button and hit continue. And then remember the templates. So again, I'm going to stick with default buyer template. And now again, we have to name our presentation. So I'm going to say, buyer tour demo, not demon demo, and then I'm going to put my initials. Okay. And we're going to pull from this primary LMS once again, just like we did before. So I'm happy with all my selections. I'm going to click on create. And again, this first screen for the buyer tour that was going to pop up in a moment, it's different than what we saw in the seller's presentation. Our first option is to use the Index Drive Time tool, and this helps buyers determine the distance from each home we're showing to a particular location. So maybe this is their office, their work, or maybe it's a family member's home. Whatever it is, they have given you that address. You can enter it here, and then that distance will appear in each home's description. You can also add a photo if you'd like that represents something about their search. So in this case, we can add anything we like, but as long as we have the proper permissions to use the image. So I'm going to go ahead and add a picture of that blue house that we saw earlier. So I'm going to browse. And I have it here in my documents. So here I have my Blue House JPEG. So I'm going to click on that and it's going to populate that in a moment. So just as a friendly reminder, you have to have the permissions. And so now that we have this here, and let's imagine that we've entered information into Index Drive, I'm going to click on continue. All right. So here we're going to enter the Pacific Heights neighborhood in San Francisco as our location of where we're going to be doing our tour. So Pacific Heights, San Francisco, let me select that and click on the search button. So the search automatically executes and a border, as you see here on the right-hand side, is drawn on the map around the Pacific Heights area. So once again, the homes are color-coded based on their status, and there's a lot of homes in this area. So we have to narrow things down a little bit. So let me zoom in. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay. And we see here that there is a park in the center. So let's use that as our point of reference. And let's say the clients would like to live near this park. So to help narrow down the search even further, we're going to leverage this radius tool. So I'm going to click on the radius tool. And I'm going to put my little cursor, the plus sign, in the middle of this park. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it out. Now, this is the radius, let's say, that we're going to do our tour in. So I'm going to let go and I'm going to say run search. So now that I'm going to run my search, it is going to pull the comparables, the listings for me within this radius that I've highlighted. All right, so now we have a more focused view of where our clients are interested in looking. So to further filter down, I can use some of these filter options up here. So I can filter based on price, I can filter based on bed and bath, or I can filter based on a lot of other values and fields that I can complete. So there's many, many options here. So once again, in order to select the properties that we're going to go see, we have to click on the little plus sign in the middle of the image. So let me just go ahead and make a few selections. So I'm going to select an active property, maybe a pending one, maybe a sold one, and let's say another sold one, just as an example. And so this selection process, again, just like we saw in the seller's presentation. And once I'm happy with my selections, I can click here on continue. And here we get to the order of our tour. So you can see here that we're going to start here at 1, then we're going to go to 2, 3, and 4. Maybe I'm happy with this order, or maybe I do want to change the order of this. So if I do, I can just click here on change order. So perhaps it might make sense to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me just go ahead and set that up. So I want to make the fourth one, let's say the first one. Oops, there we go. Okay, so that's 1, 2. Okay, I'm happy with that. And then maybe I want to make, let's see, the fourth one, the third one. So let me just move that around. Perfect. So that makes a lot more sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. That way we're not backtracking. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to click on save order. Okay, so this looks like a great tour now. So we're ready for our last page. So now we're going to click onto this Pages tab. And here, once again, we have the pages that are going to be in the presentation. So the pages screen, gives me the 9 pages, again, the navigation on the left and the preview of the pages on the right. Now, many of these pages are the ones we saw in the seller presentation. And while the provided templates are really, really nice, remember, one of the great benefits of MoxiPresent is that you can sprinkle in your own personality. And one great way to do that is by adding slides with video to your presentation. So perhaps this would be a testimonial from a satisfied client, or maybe a before and after video on staging. Those are just ideas, right? But the sky's the limit. You can truly decide what kind of video you want to add here, but you must always, once again, please be sure that you have the permissions to use the video that you include, preferably in writing. All right, so for today's demo, we're going to create a page with a short video. And so I'm going to start by clicking on Add Page. And I have the option to add from the library, or I can create a new page. So I'm going to create a new page, and you can either build the page from scratch or you can upload PDF pages. So I'm going to select build page. Now, all of these layouts you see here are available for you to use. So imagine the options. You can have a title with 2 sections or 4 photos. All of these creative designs are set up for you. In this case, we're going to bring the video. We want it to take up the whole screen. So what I want to do is select this template or layout here. So let me do that. And I'm going to click on create. So I do have a video ready to go. It's here in the next tab. You see it here, Century 21. So I'm going to just click on that. Now, what I want to make sure I do is not grab this URL up here, because that is going to include any ads I have. What I want to go and do is click on this share button. And once I do that, it's going to give me this shortened URL. I'm going to click on copy. And this is going to be the URL to use because this will skip the videos. So let me click on back to my presentation. Oops, here we go, MoxiPresent. And I'm going to select video. So let's go ahead and do that. Select video. And this is where I'm going to input the URL that I just grabbed. So once I'm happy with that, I can click on add, and that video will populate. Okay, so I do want to make sure I save this. So I'm going to save this new page. And once again, we have to give an appropriate name. So let me call it to fit with our tour, Pacific Heights, let's say neighborhood tour. Neighborhood. Okay, it's not, I'm limited on my characters, 30 out of 30. And then I'm good to go. So I can save this here, or I'm going to call it maybe description, living in Pacific Heights. There we go. Just to make it complete. So I'm going to save. Now I've got that there. So I can safely exit out of this. Click on the X in the top left-hand corner. And here we have the video, and it's right after the cover page. Okay, so we've got that done. So let me come back here to home. So here's the buyer demo tour that we did. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's Wednesday. We want to send this over to the clients today so they have an opportunity to go through it, review the homes, all of those good things, and prepare for our tour on Saturday. So I'm going to click on this vertical ellipses here, and I want to email it to my client. So if I click on email, now it's just about entering their email details. So let me come back to our PowerPoint presentation and show you what this will look like on the other side. Won't be a moment. All right, so okay, so you should all be seeing my big screen. Is that true? Can someone confirm that for me, please?
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome, thank you. So your client, let's imagine it's Saturday, right? You're ready to go for the buyer tour. So they'll likely open this buyer tour on their phone. So this is what it's going to look like on the phone. And this is, we just got out of COVID, or maybe we're not out of COVID yet. I don't know. So let's imagine that you are not in the same car because they're cautious and they want to make sure that they're, staying away from people, social distancing, all of those good things. So let's imagine you're going into separate cars. So this is where this becomes especially even more useful. So you're off on your buyer tour and they have the buyer tour on their phone because you've shared it with them. And this is what it looks like on their phone. And as they click through it, They can view the buyer tour and they can get the directions by clicking on the button at the bottom. So they will now be able to open it up. This is that presentation, the demo presentation that we saw on the computer. It shows up the same way on the phone. On the next screen here, we have again the blue house. We saw the address, your agent photo, your name, your contact details, your brokerage, all of those good things. And then we have this tour that we created. So this is what we just created together a moment ago. This one's just a little bit different. So they'll be able to see, the tour stops on the map and the thumbnails associated with each of the properties. Those are down below. We can see those here at the bottom as well. And so one of the great things about this is that now, let's say they get really excited about listing number one. You guys went to see the first home. It's exactly what they described, what they wanted. So your client can give you immediate feedback by tapping on the review link. So they can add a review and then they can share their remarks. And they do need to enter the email address or one of the email addresses that you sent this buyer tour out to. And there's good reason for this, because as you can imagine, the client is probably sharing this buyer tour with, their family members and friends and other acquaintances, and maybe it's shared out to, I don't know, a dozen people. You don't want to be getting feedback from everyone. You want feedback from your clients, the ones that you shared this presentation out to. So maybe one or two email addresses. So they have to enter the email address that you've shared it out to in order for you to see that feedback. And that unlocks it. And that's the benefit for you, that you'll be able to track the client's feedback. All right, so once they've entered their comments, given a star rating, they click on save, and you will immediately be notified. So the review will be available for you as the affiliated agent to view. And if you switch back to your view now, the one we've been looking at for our workshop today, and you click on the edit icon of your presentation and then click on the pages tab, in the listings overview page, you will now be able to see that there is one review for you to view. And you can also be notified of this, or you will, be notified of this review by email. So you'll get an email notification letting you know that there has been feedback given. And you'll be able to click on that review and see the comments moments after the client has sent them. So this is very helpful. And it also benefits the client because now they have running notes on the properties that you have been to see, not only today, but possibly over many, many weeks. All right, so this wraps up our demo of MoxiPresent software for today. I hope that you are very excited to get started creating these presentations. Don't forget, this is all about telling your story to the client. So customize it so that it matches your personality, your brand, and sells the skills that you bring to the table. You'll really learn best by practicing. That's how we all learn best. So I would encourage you to, get in there. You cannot break this tool. Create a presentation on your own home or home you've recently sold, or maybe a home you would really love to sell. No one is going to see the presentation you've created until you share it out. So go ahead, experiment, until you feel comfortable with all of this. All right, so again, this wraps up our demo of MoxiPresent. I just want to share with you what some other agents are saying. So here, some feedback we've gotten. A very professional presentation, allows a lot of flexibility, especially for entering custom comps, which are essential to the area. I find this makes it much easier to present our services to our clients, very professional, and it is a game changer for listing appointments and giving me the ability to present a professional presentation. All right, so let's look at some of the stats. The MoxiWorks product suite provides state-of-the-art technology that is provided through affiliation. Now, MoxiWorks is already an established partner and has a very impressive track record with the Realogy family, all the brands and brokers. So as such, we've seen tremendous success with the various applications. So here are some notable points. Agents and teams who used MoxiPresent earned $25,000 more. Agents and teams who used MoxiPresent earned 1.4 times more. And agents and teams who used MoxiPresent to create a buyer presentation had 1.2 times more buy-side units. Agents and teams who used MoxiPresent to create a seller presentation had 1.3 times more list side units. And so those are just to give you a little bit of an idea of the success that people are having. All right, so what are the next steps in order for you to have a successful launch? So let's recap your learning journey specifically regarding those next steps. We have a few to ensure that you can keep going. So again, this is a lot of information. I can appreciate that in 1 hour. I really shared a lot with you. So to help you get started, we've created a checklist of things to consider doing first as soon as you log into MoxiPresent. And look for additional learning opportunities also available on the Century 21 University. There are self-paced e-learning courses, as I mentioned at the outset of the session today. And again, make use of the help button within MoxiPresent to get steps and how-to information for all these great features. Now consider attending MoxiWorks hours. Those are 8 bi-weekly sessions. And these 1-hour sessions will take a deep dive into all of the best practices on each of the MoxiWorks products like MoxiPresent. And these are also found on Century 21 University. All right, so any questions? Let me open up the chat that's disappeared for me in the meantime, and we'll see if anything comes up. And feel free to take yourselves off of mute, please, if you have a question. No? Okay, so I'm going to, it's really important for us to get feedback with regards to these training sessions because we want to make them great for you guys and for everyone participating in these trainings. I would hugely appreciate it if you could click on the link that I've shared in the chat and provide us with your feedback. Please make sure you chose, a virtual training. And it's for Moxie Agent Present. My name is Yvonne Havlicek. My name starts with a Y, so it'll be all the way down at the bottom. All right, so there's a question. Can you sync the showing scheduler with the buyer's presentation? That's a very good question. I'm not 100% sure on that. I would have to come back to you with that, Madeline. Any other questions before we close out? We have a few more minutes, so certainly don't hesitate. Don't be shy.
Oh gosh, that's me. Leave the meeting.
All right. Anyone else? And please don't forget to click on the link that I shared in the chat to provide us with your feedback. Really, really important. Thank you, Richard. All right, so if there are no other questions, I will give you 3 minutes back in your day. But again, this has been recorded. I will share it with the contact person, so feel free to go back and review it at your convenience. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention. Lovely meeting you. Take care. Bye-bye.